Welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the podcast where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Michael.
I'm Kalen.
And today, we will be reviewing Dune Part 2. I think, look, I'm going to get into spoilers later. I know you just said off mic that we might not spoil it, but I think for the vast majority of this podcast, I'll try to keep it spoiler free, but when we get into maybe our final question of is this a perfect movie, I think I need to get into some of the nitty-gritty.
The nitty-gritty.
But I will try to make sure that I give everybody a warning because it is a brand new movie. It's only been in theaters for like a week. Also, it is a book that has been available for like 60 years, so there's that.
The hardcore fans know the entire story. But yeah, let's jump right in.
So I think before we get into Dune Part 2, maybe we should just lay down how we felt about Dune Part 1, because I would say this is a movie that, in even more than most sequels, is a direct continuation of Dune Part 1. So, Kalen, what did you think of Dune Part 1?
I think we were both kind of a little mixed about it. I didn't think it was amazing. I thought the visuals were incredible. This director,
Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, I didn't even want to try to attempt that. He is really great at sci-fi, and one of my favorite sci-fi films is Blade Runner 2049, which he is also director of. He's very good, much like the director of Godzilla and the creator. He's very good at creating scale and just like these epic set pieces and just creating this world that's coherent and it feels alive. So yeah, I kind of gravitated towards the first Dune just out of that curiosity of my own. And it's a great film in my view, but I don't think it was anything really that was groundbreaking as far as sci-fi goes.
Yeah, you know how in school we all know the grades A, B, C, D, F. But sometimes you can get an incomplete.
Yeah.
And I feel like I gave Dune Part 1 kind of an incomplete grade. Where the thing about Dune Part 1 and adapting the Dune story, which I was not familiar with until I started to look into it after watching some of the movies, is really just expansive and was hard to adapt. See also David Lynch's Dune in the 1980s.
Yeah.
It's just not a film. It's not a story that you can easily put into one film, which the original Dune, the David Lynch Dune, attempted to do. So what Denis Villeneuve decided to do with Dune Part 1 is he kind of just gave us the first act of the story. So the way that movie progresses is very uneven and like you're not getting your 3-act structure.
No,
really in the same way. It's a lot of lore building and table setting for where Dune Part 2 picks up, especially in the front half of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get a big action set piece and sort of like the big twist of the movie.
Yeah.
That really is like kind of setting our hero off on his own. Our hero, played by Timothée Chalamet, is a prince. They're sent to a desert planet. It's all a big ruse. And it's very Space Game of Thrones, where the Emperor is setting up the Atreides, which is Timothée Chalamet's clan, setting them up to be sneak attacked, and basically because the Emperor thinks the Atreides have become too powerful, and he wants to sort of cut them off at the knees. And this is all like a big move on the chessboard to set that up.
Well, the big thing too is the spice, which is like the most valuable resource in the known universe in Dune. And basically, I think what spice does, it enhances the mind, and it also is like a big component in how they travel through space. And it's almost like their fuel for their spacecrafts.
Yeah, it's kind of both.
In order for them to go into hyperspace.
It's both oil and mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like psychoactive mushrooms.
Yeah.
In the same thing. So it kind of starts this spice war, or if you read it in a real world context, an oil war in this desert planet. On this desert planet, there are the Fremen, who are the Arab stand-in slash, the people who live on this home planet of Arrakis. And So in the middle of the movie, there's the big battle where the sort of stabbing in the back happens, where the Harkonnens, who are kind of they were the previous owners of Arrakis, and come and blow them up with the aid of the Emperor, blow up the Atreides clan, and then our man Timmy Chalamet, who's been dreaming of Zendaya the whole movie, which is funny because this movie, the Dune Part 1 was a real rug pull for everyone in the marketing, because Zendaya was splashed across everything, and Zendaya has like no lines of dialogue.
She shows up for the last 15 minutes,
Yes, she's mostly just a person that exists in Paul's dreams silently until the last 15 minutes,
right.
And then the Dune Part 2 basically ends with Zendaya and Timmy Chalamet being like, let's go off on this grand adventure. And it's just very like strangely paced. And I was like, incomplete. This is like half the story. So either Dune Part 2 is going to land this plane and make Dune Part 1 better by extension, or the opposite.
And I think, so that movie was created in essence to kind of set up the world, because there's just so many moving components to this world of Dune. And you have all these different clans, and then you have the Emperor, and then you have this spiritual aspect of it. You got to explain all this to people, or otherwise we're going to be like, what the fuck am I watching? It was kind of already like that to begin with, though, because Dune is just so weird. It's not Star Wars by any means. Well, kind of. But it's just not as digestible for an audience like Star Wars is. It's not that typical kind of space adventure film. And I think a lot of people went into this movie thinking it was going to be that, and were disappointed because there's a lot more dialogue. It's a lot slower paced. I personally enjoyed that aspect. And I think they did a pretty serviceable job kind of developing the world and the characters.
And my biggest misgiving when I was watching Dune Part 1 is I was watching it and I was like, is this just another like special boy sci-fi? Is this a white messiah story? Is this because the whole movie's kind of like, Timothy Chalamet, you were bred for this. Like, this is your destiny. Yeah. You are going to be this great one. And it's kind of vague about like how this is going to happen. But it's like Timmy Chalamet is like the anointed one as far as we see, especially in Dune Part 1. And I was like, this feels kind of gross in a modern context. What is going on here? I'm not that interested in a special boy sci-fi. I want something a little more, I don't know, with a little more depth than that. And then I read into it a little bit, and Frank Herbert, the author of Dune, was very much not doing that in his book. Yeah. He was trying to show the
fallacy of the messiahs, basically.
Yeah, he was trying to like show these all-powerful characters as fallible and maybe part of a system. So after that, after reading up on that, which is not actually in Dune Part 1, I was like, okay, I will give this a chance. I think I actually like this movie if it's and when I rewatched Dune Part 1, I kind of caught on some of the things that are tipping their hand towards like, things are not quite as they seem. Yeah. Is our special boy really a special boy?
Well, the mom character is real shady to begin with. There's something really off about her, and then you have this kind of like coven of like space witches,
the Bene Gesserit,
who are kind of like they're kind of puppeteering everybody in the galaxy, or all these big houses, and they just have their hand in everything. And so they're also pushing this narrative of like, the Messiah, or this I can never say this correctly. What do they call him?
Well, the in Arrakis, the Fremen call him the Lisan al-Gaib. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
And it's been seeded ahead of them. Like the Bene Gesserit have been planning this, and various cultures all have their Messiah story. Mm-hmm. We're mostly focused on the Fremen in the Dune movies thus far, but they all have this story. And then, yes, like we said, it's the Lisan al-Gaib in this one.
So watching, and then Dune Part 2 comes out, and I think I appreciate Dune Part 1 a lot more now that I've seen Dune Part 2. I think that Part 2 really elevates the one from 2021. And I just think they work so well together. And I recently went back and watched Dune Part 1, and I came to a different conclusion than I did the first time watching it. So
yeah. And that's what I think I enjoy about both these movies is the text can be read many ways. And there's a lot of ambiguity. Ambiguity. Anything. And that's not something. That's something Denis Villeneuve has consistently done in his movies. Thinking of Blade Runner, That is another movie where we have, is this a special boy? And then there's a twist on that without spoiling that movie. Sicario is like, is the cartel the bad guy? Really? Or is it all these maniacs in like DEA?
Yeah.
So on and so forth. So I guess let's get into our segments for Dune Part 2.
Let's do it.
So first off, let's get into the performance test, where we talk about our favorite actors, character scenes, and moments.
It was the performance of a lifetime.
This is a very stacked cast.
Yes.
I think this is, along with being an intense sci-fi thing, it's this weird crossroads, because I think this does have mass appeal strictly from the cast, because they have assembled all the youngest and hottest people on the planet to be in this movie.
Yeah. Timothée Chalamet, obviously, and then Zendaya, and then is it Austin Butler?
Elvis.
Yeah. They're three of the biggest names right now for sure. But I definitely want to shout out Timothée Chalamet.
It's Timothée Chalamet.
Okay. Vonko said he's pulling up.
Let's let him in. Maybe we'll just continue when he gets here.
Yeah. Timothée Chalamet, he really surprised me in this film, because I've seen him in a few things and I was never really truly impressed with him. Mm-hmm. He's always kind of got the same face all the time, and it's kind of the same with Dune, but I think it's more in service of this character that he's playing. And I never really found him charming either. There's just some stuff that kind of rubbed me the wrong way with this guy.
He's in Lady Bird, by Greta Gerwig, who's the director of Barbie. And he's really like, his character, I saw that. His character is he's like just a real, like, I'm a real cool teenager type of guy.
Yeah.
And that's like Timmy Chalamet's whole thing.
He's like, look at my jawline. All right, put Pro Tools on. Let's see what he's got.
In the mix. I suppose I don't know. I don't know how to do it, but I could maybe re-record with a third mic if we want to do that. Or I don't know.
We could do whatever. Talking about doing Dune again?
No, I was just seeing if somehow I could continue the recording, but with a third mic. All right. We'll just keep going.
We're talking about Timothée Chalamet. I can never say his last name. I'm just going to stop.
Yeah, I say it wrong on purpose because that's the way I like to say it. So Timothée Chalamet's been in a lot of like teenagery, like he's kind of a heart throbby type of guy.
Yeah.
But yes, he impressed me in this movie. There's a particular scene where he's kind of embracing his sort of power and influence, and he really cranks it up a notch in a way I didn't think he could do, because he's always been a little mopey and quiet, and a lot of both of these movies is Timothée Chalamet talking like this.
Yeah. It's like he's trying to seduce you through the camera. Yeah.
But then he comes in and he's just like, I'm rageful, and he's screaming and intense.
Spoiler, kind of, but the scene that gave me chills was towards the end, where he's like usurping, basically, or whatever. And he's going to take the throne from the emperor. And the lady, the Jesuit lady, the head witch, she's like, you need to be careful, think about what you're doing. He's like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Basically, he doesn't say that, but he said, it's like he yells silence to her, and the whole theater just shook. And shout out to the theater that we went and watched this at, because that was a great viewing experience. But yeah, he was surprisingly awesome in this.
Yeah, people stop patronizing AMC and find a different theater, because it'll probably be better for you.
Right. We could actually see the screen this time.
We could see the screen, the sound system in there. This is called at a place called Imagine. Sound system was sick. It was rattling. It felt almost like we were watching 4D movie.
It was pretty sick. My ass was numb after. Also, they have a bar, so
there you go.
Perks,
No alcohol. That's what they serve there. Alcohol. You got to call a different guy for that. So, Caitlin, When you came out of this movie, I noticed that your light skin animosity was showing again because you were like, Zendaya, I don't know about her.
Listen, there can only be one, and that's me. Okay. No, all right, let's be real about Zendaya. She's a Disney Channel actress. Mm. She started out that way. She just never really seems like she. We have another person beside us right now, so you guys might be hearing some wild shit in the background.
I also have fully formed swishers if you want some. Does that charger not work? No. It's like a gas station charger. I have a whole paper plate over here too. Trash is under this thing.
Zendaya, she's just not real good to me. I don't really know how to like explain it any further than that. Everything I've seen her in, she's just okay. I think her performance in all the Spider-Man movies are kind of like it's like, what kind of character are you trying to play? But then it's like I notice her in other things, and I'm kind of like, you're the same type of character in everything you're in. And she wasn't really convincing in this as this like desert faring warrior lady. It just wasn't really working for me. I kind of feel like she was miscast, but that's just a personal kind of gripe.
I like her in this movie. I went and saw this twice. I saw it. I spent in like 30 hours. I spent like 6 of them watching Dune because I went on Sunday and then I came back on Monday. With
That's
my lady
not a bad
friend.
way to spend your time, though.
And I feel like she is good. I think she is clearly like the younger version. Like she's sort of the head of there's the Fremen are split into like 2 factions. There's the older, more religious faction, and she's kind of part of the younger crew.
Yeah.
And like she doesn't have the thick accent that Javier Bardem's character has, and they even like talk about it. Because she's like, he's from the South. Didn't you notice her accent?
Yeah.
Like she, I don't know. I think she's good, and I think this movie is setting her up in the future to be more of the main character,
right,
than Timothée Chalamet,
right,
is gonna be. And I don't have any problem with the performance, to be honest.
So, and that's what differs from the book. Now, I haven't read the book, but while you're spending your time in the theater watching Dune, I was watching lore videos on YouTube, and so in the book, she kind of is not sidelined, but she's not as big of a catalyst going forward. It kind of, I think in the book, he made, after he became emperor, he made her his concubine, mm-hmm. which is like, whoa, that's kind of wild. They definitely wouldn't do that now, but it kind of seems like they're going to be at odds in the next one, and so I'm kind of like interested to see what they do with that. But
so we can run down the list of our hot people, and then I have another guy I need to mention. But Austin Butler, he's a sort of he is a prince of the Harkonnens, which are the sort of real like angry, battle hungry race that are sent by the Emperor to retake Arrakis.
Yeah,
in this movie, and Austin Butler's in this all white makeup. He's like killing more people on his own side than he is. He's like
just so nonchalant about it too.
I watched a review that called him Frieza-like.
Chris Duckman, yeah, I saw that too, and it definitely, I could see some resemblance for sure.
Yeah, in looks and in actions.
Yeah.
So Austin Butler's pretty good in this movie. Florence Pugh, she plays the Emperor's daughter, and she is also a secret Bene Gesserit. A secret member of this order that is manipulating all the global politics. She's okay, and she's going to be in a larger role, it seems like, in the future. And then I wanted to talk about Christopher Walken, which a lot of people I've seen say he's miscast as the Emperor.
We're missing one young hot starlet, though.
Anya Taylor-Joy?
Yes.
That's true, but she only shows up. She's like the Zendaya of the last movie, where she only shows up in one dream and has like 3 lines.
Right.
She plays Timothée Chalamet's unborn sister. But Christopher Walken, he's good. I think he mostly got cast for his look, because when they put him in like the big blue robe and they have his hair done, he looks pretty royal, and he's just got that like kind of
Romanesque kind of look.
He's got a good look good face for it, but there's some line deliveries that I enjoy, but it's kind of funny because you can't stop Christopher Walken from being Christopher Walken, because there's definitely a line that he says to Florence Pugh where he's like, "This more deep. What should we do with them?" like you can take the guy out of New York, but you can't take New York out of the guy.
No. New York in space.
It kind of feels like when Bill Burr shows up in The Mandalorian and he's like, "Hey, what are you, a Mando?" Like, I'm walking in. Hey, give me your blaster.
I love how Dave Bautista was kind of just getting bitched out the entire movie. I thought that was hilarious. He's the big brother of Austin Butler's character, and Austin Butler is like, he's like the young hotshot kind of psychopath, and we all thought that that's what Dave Bautista's character was.
What? Sure. Where are they? Oh, up there. Well, that was not clear what you were asking. That's why. On the top right.
He's got a head inside that bitch. Did you see that? Sorry, tangent, but did you see that a guy that Joe Rogan interviewed on his podcast? They found a torso in this guy's apartment or something, and he was like an ex-con that was all for like Reformation and stuff, and they found like a head and a torso inside of his apartment. That's kind of fucking crazy.
Oh, how'd that get there?
I don't know, man. Yeah, right.
They're
sacrifice Hollywood
squeezing it for the pheromones, so he could get. So Joe Rogan could get like 0.1 inches taller.
Yeah, I found out that he was like 5'3" this year.
Yeah,
I did not know that. Yeah, there's also a Skarsgård in this film.
Stellan, the dad.
Yeah. Skarsgårds are everywhere.
Can't get away from him.
What's his name? Bill Skarsgård is playing the Crow, which should be interesting.
It looks really bad. The images look bad. He looks like Machine Gun Kelly.
He looks like Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking actually about Austin Butler is like, this is who Jared Leto wants to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Just that wants
either
to be
that or Barry Keoghan, kind of. I
feel like Barry Keoghan's usually quieter.
You think so?
Yeah.
He wasn't quiet in what's his fucking name? The Banshees.
Yeah, he was.
Barry Keoghan?
I mean, he was stupid.
In Banshees?
He was stupid, but he wasn't
talking.
He wasn't like intense.
Oh, okay,
is what I'm saying.
Fair.
Shall we move along? Well, hold on. We should talk about a couple standout scenes. I think one that stands out. These Dune movies seem to have it's like poetry. They rhyme.
Yeah.
Because I feel like our biggest action sequence is actually in the middle of the movie, and it's the worm riding.
That scene was awesome.
If you can go see this in a theater, go see this in a nice theater, because the sound and the visuals of our man's Timmy Sham's first ride on a sandworm is a really awesome scene. I
remember like watching that and my heart was like dropping, like when he was when he was riding, and I don't know, just the way it was shot, it just, you could feel the speed and stuff. I can't do this with this motherfucker next to me. I really can't.
Yeah.
Have you seen Dune? No, not like Avatar.
That bullshit. That was stupid as hell. Okay.
Well, he rides a sandworm, which is just like a 100-foot tall worm. And I think it's purposely does look a little bit like a penis.
There you go.
It's like an uncircumcised one. That's definitely what it looks like. We're gonna have to do this later.
No, this is great. So sandworm scene is sick. I did forget to mention Javier Bardem.
Yeah,
because he's like the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
He plays Stilgar. He's like the elder.
I saw some people on YouTube very upset about this because they like the portrayal of this character in the book. He's a very stoic, kind of like radical, and he's very much a radical in this as well. But I saw people who were saying, "Oh, they made this character into comic relief." I was like, I think he said a total of like maybe 2 funny lines in the entire movie. And I don't think they were supposed to be intentionally funny. They just it was like kind of a matter of fact kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's just read as more of like he's more of like a helpful uncle who is a little bit like he's radical in the way I think a lot of young people see like real radical religious people who are like, all right, guy.
Yeah.
Like you have your fun, but we're not really into it. But he brings some life into this movie, which which I think otherwise could have been very dry and dull, because he's not like haha quippy hilarious. He's just a charming guy.
Yeah, it's just the personality, man.
Yeah, that just conveys a lot of personality.
He's fantastic. I don't think Javier Bardem gets enough accolades. He's a great actor.
You may also know him as King Triton in the Haley Bailey.
I'd rather remember him as the hitman from
No Country?
Yeah, No Country.
Shall we move along to It's an Art Bro?
Let's do it.
It's where we talk about the different aspects of the filmmaking process, sets, effects, lighting.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
This movie filmed on location in the desert, and you can tell.
Yeah.
A lot of movies don't have the... a lot of productions just don't want to do that because it's expensive, it's uncomfortable for everyone, and it's hard to do. Yeah. The original Star Wars did do it, and then I don't think they went back for the prequels.
No.
That was all done in studios.
They just put a sandbox down and told Hayden Christensen, hey, say you don't like sand.
You don't like it.
That was with the kid, and he was racing that dumb fuck.
Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Yeah, we have a review of that.
We do have a review of that. Yeah. I just want to say the cinematography is gorgeous. I think it's safe to say this is one of the best looking movies I've ever seen. This, right alongside Blade Runner, some of the best sci-fi you'll ever see. Honestly.
Yeah. There's a lot of scale, like in the sandworm writing. There's also a final battle that you think is going to be like the Helm's Deep of this movie, but it's funny because it kind of yada yadas a lot of the actual fighting.
Yeah.
But
I kind of like that.
Yeah, I didn't mind it at that point in the movie, because this starts at like 2 hours and 20 minutes in, and I'm like, I cannot do a 40-minute battle sequence right now.
I was starting to squirm a little bit until the nuke dropped, and then I was like, all right, back on board.
Yeah, it is just gorgeous. I do also like the soundtrack on this is different. It has a different main theme than the original Dune. The original Dune we talked about on the Hulk podcast. It's a lot into the like very classic Muslim, Arabic, Arabian. But this one is a little I don't know. It's different, and I thought the music in it was all good.
Dude, I think it was just also the theater we're in. The sound fucking slapped, bro. I was like, you could feel that shit in your body, and that shit was crazy. And I just want to go back and see it in the theater just for that. It kind of harkened back to when we first saw Mad Max in the theater, and how fucking adrenaline pumping that shit was.
And deserts.
Yeah.
A lot of the design of the costumes is really cool. There's the very first scene is the Fremen are approached by a Harkonnen like squad that is a bunch of soldiers that are trying to take them out, and they all have really cool costumes, these big black suits, which both I think convey that these guys aren't really equipped for the desert. It's just like, I don't know, Napoleon getting stuck, or Hitler getting stuck in Russia. Like it's like.
It's basically the stormtroopers on Tatooine.
Yeah, they're more technologically advanced, but they're not fit for this climate and this setting in like a really harsh place like the desert, because they have these big black suits. We're just like, why do you have this big bulky suit? And then you see in the back there's like a fan. on this suit, and I'm like, all this for like there must be like an air conditioning system in there.
But they had that cool anti-gravity thing where they can just kind of like
they can just kind of float around, which is really cool.
I love the Harkonnen planet. Where the planet is in a star system where the star is like a black sun or whatever, and so whenever they're outdoors, everything is black and white. But once they're inside, then you see the colors and stuff coming back.
But there's still no colors because like everything, all the architecture is black, and then all the people are like this bright Frieza type of white,
right? And then when they were shooting off fireworks, it was like this splotch in the sky or whatever. It was really visually impressive. That whole scene,
like a splattery lava lamp.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention is the way the guns sound in this. You didn't get a lot of guns in the first one, but the guns in this movie it's not that typical big boom. It's a crack.
Yeah.
Like the first jump scare in the movie is when that one soldier gets sniped and it just just this loud whack. And it just, you like feel the force, I feel like, more than like your typical like gun sound is like more of an explosion. And this one's just like whack.
Well, they had that minigun that was on that ship, that drop ship or whatever. And that shit fucking slapped. Like you could feel that shit. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah. It's really incredible. I also like the Fremen. They're very attuned to the desert. And we find that they've found a way to like bury themselves in the desert under the sand. And then they just jump out of there like ninjas and just start slashing people.
Yeah.
Really sick. Really just it's just an really interesting world, and a lot of that's due to Frank Herbert, the creator of the book, and I think a lot of that is due to Denis Villeneuve finding out how to bring this to the screen and make it just impressive. And you're just looking at it and it's just, I mean, it's called Dune, and then there's dunes, just the biggest dunes everywhere all the time.
That's called like true advertisement right there.
Yeah. You know, it did what it said on the box. It gave me sand dunes, and I respect it for that.
I saw this commercial. It was kind of funny because people were watching this in a Dolby theater, and then they walk out and they're like brushing sand out of their hair, and that's kind of how I felt coming out of the theater watching this. So
100%.
Let's move on.
Shall we move on to, hey, what are you trying to say?
Okay, well, I thought we put a double-breasted on you because it would look nicer, I think.
What are you saying? Are you saying double-breasted because I should be wearing some milk duds or something? Because I happen to weigh a little more when I was younger and then lost some weight that I'm a little stretchy in the nipple area, and so that my breasts flap like two large wind socks flapping in the wind even though there's no wind, and I should have something to keep my breasts in so they don't burst out and poke people's eyes out? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm just saying they're on sale this week.
This is where we talk about what the movie's trying to say, the themes. And I think this might be actually where I get into some more spoiler-filled things, because this movie, what I enjoyed about it is all about the themes, which is Paul Atreides, Timmy Chalamet. Is he this messiah figure that some of the Fremen think he is, that his mother wants him to be? Is he this big savior? What is his destiny? Can you even have a destiny with the way this is all set up? Because basically his whole... like, the myth of him on this world is propaganda from the people that his mother work with, the Bene Gesserit. Like this has all been kind of laid before him from the moment of his conception. And it's like, where does he have free will in this? And then, like, is he a savior, or is he like the apocalypse?
And then it's also like not clear cut if he's like totally... because at the end he flips, and he kind of embraces this character of the Messiah, and it's not very clear cut if he's like still feels a certain type of way about it, because everything his whole thing is like he wants the stuff that's going on in his dreams to not become reality, and so he feels like going on this path he can kind of subvert that a little bit
by not embracing his messiahhood.
Right,
he will save save the world from this tragedy that he foresees in his dreams. But like at the beginning of the movie, he literally tells Javier Bardem's character, he's like, I am not your Messiah. And then Javier Bardem's like, oh, he is so modest. Of course he's the Messiah. He's got to be. And then by the end of the movie, which this also happens, so there's, I think, some subtlety to it, because in this movie, he only turns when he drinks the water of life, which is this, psychedelic poison drug that the Fremen use in rituals.
Worm piss.
And the only way he survives it, so he comes there and he drinks it, and then he's about to die. And then it says in the prophecy, somebody needs to, like Zendaya needs to bring him back to life with her tears. And she's not going to do that until his mother uses the voice, which is this power where you can literally just mind control, command someone to do something on Zendaya, and then she goes and does it. So it's like, at no point was there really free will there.
No.
He should have died. Zendaya didn't want to do this. And then when he awakens from the water of life, that's when he's like, I'm a god.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So I just think there's a lot of depth there, and those things we just kind of touch on in Dune Part 1, and then Dune Part 2 is like, that's everything about it. In between, there's a couple great action scenes, the helicopter action scene, the sandworm, the final fight, the duel at the end. Everything else about this movie is like, what is destiny and what is the truth about this prophecy? Because the Bene Gesserit leader, she also says that Austin Butler's character, like, he's another option for this prophecy.
Yeah.
He could be the one.
Yeah.
Like, he's a psychopath, but all we need is somebody that we can control.
Yeah. And then it's like going back to what you're saying about free will, where it's like, if there is prophecy, then there is no free will.
Yeah.
And
the one thing I noticed upon my second rewatch is also at the end of the movie, after he embraces his destiny, quote unquote, he and this is the big twist of the movie, so I'm going to say full spoilers if you don't want to know this. This may ruin a pretty big moment that I think hit me pretty hard the first time it happened. This whole time we see him and Zendaya in love, and then at the end he's confronting the Emperor, and he basically says, kiss my ring, I'm taking your crown, and I'm also taking your daughter as my wife.
Yep.
And that is a double cross that we don't expect. Zendaya is hurt. The audience is hurt.
Pimp move right there.
But before the Emperor and his daughter even fly to Arrakis for this meeting, the mother of the Bene Gesserit says, there is one way you maintain control when they land. And Florence Pugh was like, yeah, and it's this.
Yeah.
It is the ending that we get where she is still in the throne room.
Right.
With the new Emperor.
This is literally Game of Thrones in space. This whole thing. So, yeah, it's pretty sick. Pretty sick.
All right. Shall we move along to our final question? Is this a perfect movie?
We skipped Let the Hate Flow Through, but I honestly don't have really any gripes.
Let's do Let the Hate Flow Through.
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
I do think upon rewatch, and maybe it's just because I watched it twice in a day and a half, that you could tighten this movie up 15 or 20 minutes and not lose a lot.
Sure.
And you can tell from the editing that there's even more that got cut out, because there's a lot of scenes where we kind of open up without any of the usually there's the setting where it's show the building, show the crowd, now we cut to our main character. All these scenes really are cut to the bone, but I still think we could shed a few minutes and not lose a lot from this movie, and it does feel a little there's just a little ebbs and flows of energy.
I think the Harkonnen planet scene, I think that went on a little too long. Even though it was really cool, I really loved the visual aspect of it and just kind of seeing this world of the Harkonnens, because there's such a savage people. Mm-hmm. That was really cool to see, but I think that could have been cut down a little bit. Honestly, though, personally, I think I'll be waiting on the director's cut of this. to see those little extra moments.
I cannot. I was just paging through HBO Max and like scrolled past the extended Lord of the Rings, and I was like, these movies are 4.5 hours long.
Those are the best versions, though.
You have to be on like some really strong substances to sit in one spot. No, I'm thinking different ones. Yeah, for real.
I love it. I think because I love the books, and that version is as close to the books as you can get. Other than kind of some of the pacing issues, I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't really care for Zendaya's character. I think she was miscast, but that's just, again, that's a personal kind of gripe. Other than that, I can't really think of anything that really stands out.
So let's ask this final question. Is this a perfect movie?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way. I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
Absolutely.
You know, Kaylin, I think I want to put it in perfect movie purgatory.
Oh, my God.
I like it a lot, but I do think the it's just a little too long. I don't know. And it's more I just want to think on it even more.
Yeah, it is pretty fresh. I just think the track record for this director, I mean, Blade Runner 2049 is probably my favorite sci-fi movie ever. And so maybe I'm looking at it through kind of jaded lenses a little biased opinion. But I haven't been this blown away by a film in a long time. And I just kind of loved every second of it. I really appreciated the world and just the atmosphere and the characters I actually cared about. And you just don't get that too much. And when you do get it, it feels special. And so I obviously want to celebrate that. But, I mean, if you think this belongs in purgatory, we can always come back to this at a later date and try to iron this out a little bit.
And I just think there's some weirdness with the like how Dune Part 1 is like half a movie and then this one gets to do all the fun stuff where it kind of feels like cheating. Like you just had a whole other movie do the legwork for this movie. So we could do this cool part, and it's like on one hand that's what a sequel does. On the other hand, it's all I don't know.
I mean, if you think about like when we're talking about Lord of the Rings, you think about Fellowship of the Ring. That wasn't necessarily that exciting of a film either. There was a lot of slower moments kind of building up this world. I mean, obviously Lord of the Rings is built on the battle scenes, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like it's just this massive medieval epic, so you're kind of expecting to have these kind of scenes. But there's also a lot of slower moments, like you spend the first maybe 40 minutes in Hobbiton, that entire movie. And I think that's where the most character shines through, though. I don't really see the action scenes as the most interesting aspect of the Lord of the Rings films. I think it's those slower moments where you can really like feel the mythology, feel just be in this world for a little bit, you know, and kind of get to know these characters. And not saying that Dune Part 1 was any Fellowship of the Ring by any means, but I think that slower kind of momentum was very much in service for like, okay, now the banger's coming. You know, you've kind of built that up, and now this is your reward kind of thing.
I guess the one thing, and this is more of a criticism of Dune Part 1, I suppose, but it just, Fellowship of the Ring didn't feel like an incomplete movie.
Right.
You know, Fellowship, it's clearly part of an ongoing thing, but you still got, like, all 3 acts, and you leave, like, with a satisfying ending that is still, it still says... the adventure continues, but it still feels like satisfying in and of itself. And I feel like Dune Part 1 didn't really do that. And then Dune Part 2 gets to kind of carry the baton and finish for 2 movies. And I don't know. Some part of me thinks that's a little bit of cheating.
I really don't know how they're going to finish this story in a third film. So that will be interesting. And I hope it's not a complete clusterfuck of like, we're just going to throw all this shit in there. You know, I have faith in this director now. But yeah, we'll see. So I think I can agree with you in purgatory.
I think we should put it in purgatory. And I was looking back because I was wondering when we started our podcast, and our first post was like June 19th, I believe, 2021.
Yeah.
Or no, 2022. But anyways, I was thinking we could return around June, sometime in June, around like an anniversary time. Because we have not cleared out the purgatory list.
Yeah.
And do a purgatory clean out.
We could do that.
send these movies to their final fates, you know.
Yeah.
And Dune Part 2 can be one of those movies. I just want to think on it a little more.
Sure.
Second time watching it, I was like, there is some flaws, but it is still great. And I enjoy it, and I encourage anyone who wants to see it and finds this interesting to go see it in a theater, because it will just hit different on the big screen with the big sound system. And I think at home, a lot like Dune Part 1, this movie has a lot of quiet moments that are easy to tune out if you are not in that setting.
Right.
And then you're not going to get the full effect of it all put together.
I agree.
So, with that, we're going on to Mythical March.
Yep.
After this,
we're going to be doing Dark Crystal next.
Dark Crystal. We're also going to have a friend on to do another episode.
About another movie about sand.
Yeah.
That's not as good.
And it's not going to be a perfect movie. Guaranteed. No debate. So look forward to that. And we will see you next time.
Peace.